So let's talk about this rogue status situation. And I'm going to talk about my experience on the console and my experience on the PC so far in the beta. And the alpha and the beta, the last beta and the first alpha I had an opportunity to play were on the console. This beta, I've played both on the console and both on the PC. And I'll tell you right now, I love the PC a lot more, but that's a completely different topic. I'm not trying to get into the PC master race, anything like that. I'm not trying to put anyone down. I'm just saying I enjoyed the PC experience much more than I enjoyed the console experience so far. But what I do not enjoy about the PC experience is how, so far, at least from the players that I've run into after playing for about 7 or so hours, is very, let's just say, call them White Knight Care Bears, because that's essentially what they are. No one goes rogue, and if you do go rogue, whether by accident or on purpose, there's a guaranteed chance that a majority of the server is going to come hunt you down. And so the problem I have with the rogue mechanics as they currently stand is that you are punished too heavily by going rogue, which is a mechanic of the Dark Zone. Now, I know there's an argument out there like, well, you shouldn't be going rogue anyway because you're all a part of the same division, group, or whatever. You're all supposed to be on the same side. So you should get hunted down if you go out and kill your own, friendlies. It's kind of like the analogy where if you were part of the fire department or the police department, you wouldn't kill one of your homies or take them out because he had a cooler Beretta or his squad cruiser had a little bit more horsepower, would you? Probably not. So the argument there is that if you did something like that, you can bet your ass that there would be a huge manhunt on you. The problem with that, though, in that argument, in my opinion, is that it's a video game. You're supposed to be killing and enjoying yourself in a PvP mindset, and since the Dark Zone is the only current PvP option, the incentives to go rogue, to go against everyone on the server or any of the individuals that may want to have conflict with you, is too low. You lose a lot more in terms of items, you lose pretty much all of your keys, and the biggest problem with me personally is the fact that you get pinged on the map where you are. Not exactly where you are, but your minimap will ping where the rogues are. Now, if you've been playing the Dark Zone long enough, you will know exactly where these players are, because essentially what you have is you have 4 rows, or 4 to 5 rows. And you can generally triangulate their position on your minimap, being like, okay, he's pinging on the top left. That means he's either at the top left extraction point or he's at the top left of the map. There's no real in-between ground because it's not necessarily one big old open space where they could be anywhere on that top left side. They're only in 1 or 2 positions because it's like blocks. There's not really too much room to maneuver in the sense that it is an enclosed space. It's obviously smaller than it's supposed to be because it is a beta. But my problem with that stands. The issue is that you are known to the server where you are. The other issue that follows that too is the fact on PC, and this is much more apparent on PC than it is on console, is the fact that if you go rogue, the entire server has a tendency to gang up on you, to go after you in an incredible way, because that's what people want to do. They're trying to farm for gear. I understand that, trying to save their money because everyone wants to get the Liberator or the Pecan. And I get that. Those 2 guns will literally make your life a lot easier in both the PvE encounters with the Dark Zone enemies and at other players because they are incredibly powerful. They're very good. And again, so none of that right there, I'm not necessarily against, because as much as I want to sit there and say that I'm always going rogue, I'm not. Sometimes I will hunt down rogues because I want the money. Because anytime you kill a rogue, there's a chance to get, like 200 or 300 Dark Zone credits and all their keys and any of the gear that they have on them. Although I personally think that the gear right now as it stands is worthless because the vendor items is just better. Maybe in like a pregame set where you're trying to get the blues to level up so that you can do better to get those purples, that makes sense. But after a certain point in time, it doesn't make sense for you to pick up gear anymore unless it's vanity items. But again, that's just my experience of the PC. On the Xbox side, I noticed that rogues were more abundant, players didn't care as much, they were shooting each other on sight, and it was a different experience. I wouldn't necessarily say it was more enjoyable, but I will say, during my time streaming and recording, that they are different experiences fundamentally. And that sort of, again, equates to my bias here. Do I think that some of the rogue mechanics are silly? Yes, but again, It's just different. Some people on the Xbox and even the PlayStation may not experience what I'm talking about on the PC. I just personally think that if you go rogue, you shouldn't necessarily ping on the minimap so that players can see you. Maybe you ping once every 4 minutes or something like that if you still have it. But other than that, you shouldn't be pinging. You shouldn't be shown the location unless you're in visual confirmation range where you be like, okay, that guy has a rogue symbol on his head. Now I know what's going on. That I agree with. Right, I get that. You need to be able to visually confirm that the players that are approaching you in some maybe like 50 meters or something like that, or 100 meters, whatever it is, you know that they're rogue. But across the map, I think that's a little silly. I also think that the rewards are too low for going rogue. If you survive them, yes, you get about 400 or plus credits depending on your tier system. I think like tier 3, tier 4, you get like 400 to 500. And then tier 5, manhunt, the 5 minutes, you get 600 or above. Personally, the way I think it should work is that if you return fire on someone, say you're like a rogue 1 or a rogue 2, if you return fire on someone who's already shooting at you and you down them, then you should go up in tier. Like once you kill them, you should go up in tier. But I personally think that it should work. All of the rogue statuses should work like rogue 5. And until you get to rogue 5, obviously your timer can't go up anymore. But if you return fire on someone in your rogue 3 and you have 10 seconds left on your timer goes all the way back up to 160 seconds. That is ridiculous, in my opinion. It doesn't give you any opportunity to defend yourself. And the added annoyance that anyone you kill that's a non-rogue can respawn instantaneously and get right back into the fight. That makes no sense to me. If I was killed by a rogue, I shouldn't be like, well, I'm just going to respawn here in about 5 seconds and go right back after him. And if I'm right next to a checkpoint, which the checkpoints are abundant and very, very close due to the small map size, you're going to be right back fighting that guy in under a minute, which doesn't allow him enough time to run out his timer, especially if he's at tier 3, tier 4. So I still think that the rogue system needs to be worked on, needs to be looked at. That's just my experience with it so far. At the end of my stream today, really, I banded up with 2 Russian dudes and we pretty much stopped dying. And this majority of my experiences were limited to when I was just one and a buddy of mine. We were just grouping up by ourselves and we did run into a lot of problems. But once we got into a group of 4, your survivability goes up. And this sort of goes against the whole notion that you can play the Dark Zone solo. You can, right? But it's incredibly difficult. Even with the gear, it's still very difficult. The AI can be very, very tiresome and annoying in how some of their mechanics work. Like some of the boss named enemies will just run at you. You know, they don't care for their lives at all. They'll literally just run right at you. And it's like, okay, that is kind of silly in my opinion. But if you have a group of 4 people, you're guaranteed to do really, really well. So that in a nutshell is sort of my experience. I like The Division a lot. I think that I'm going to for sure be playing it on the PC 100%. Probably not going to be playing it at all on the Xbox. If you guys want to add me on PC, just hit me up. My GT name is Wallen Ford. I'll put it in the description below. But with that being said, what do you guys think? Do you think that the rogue status is fine? Do you think it needs to be worked on? Are you okay with it? How do you feel about The Division? Let me know. I'm curious. You guys are awesome. Hope you guys have a great day. I'm out. Peace.
From the start, chained to our past.